Okay. So, what is meant by thermodynamics? There are two words here, thermo and dynamics. Thermo is related to heat or energy. Dynamics, it is related to the various changes, actions. So thermodynamics deals with the energy changes or heat changes during any type of change, physical or chemical. During the physical as well as chemical changes, there may be absorption of heat or release of heat. There may be absorption of, say, light energy or release of heat energy, light energy. There may be absorption of electrical energy. So anyhow, there will be some kind of energy changes during the physical and chemical changes. And in this module, thermodynamics, we deal with the energy changes, especially the heat changes during physical and chemical processes. Let us begin with some terms used in thermodynamics. The first one is system, surroundings, and the boundary. System, let us see the various terms like system, surroundings, and the boundary. So let us start with these three terms: system, surroundings, and boundary. So a system is a part of the universe. It is a part of the universe, in which the observations are done. For example, there is a chemical reaction taking place in a beaker or a test tube. The chemical changes are taking place in the test tube or the beaker. So the beaker containing the reactants and the products, that is the system. And it is a part of the universe, the entire universe. So system is a part of the universe in which the observations are done. Universe in which the various observations are done. And that part of the universe, that's called the system. As I told you, when a chemical reaction takes place in a test tube, so for example, a reaction between sodium hydroxide and hydrochloric acid, forming sodium chloride and water, and that is the system. The reactants as well as the products, and that is the system. The rest of the universe, that is called the surroundings. The rest of the universe, that means the rest of the universe other than the system, that is called the surroundings. There will be a wall, a separation between the system and the surroundings. It may be an imaginary wall or a real wall. So an imaginary or real wall between the system and the surroundings, that is called the boundary. So to illustrate this, let me take a glass tumbler, say made of steel tumbler. You take a steel tumbler. In the steel tumbler, you take hot water. See, here there is hot water. Hot water taken in a steel tumbler. Here, hot water, that is the system. Then, the part of the universe other than hot water sample taken, that is called the surroundings. Surroundings. Then between the surroundings and the system, hot water, there is a boundary. The boundary is made of steel, a steel tumbler. That is the boundary. So boundary is an imaginary or a real wall, a separation that separates the system from the rest of the universe or surroundings. A wall may be real or imaginary. Between the system and the surroundings, that is called the boundary. So these are the three terms you have to see first. System, surroundings, and the boundary. So system is a part of the universe in which all the observations are done. Say the changes are taking place. That is the system. The rest of the universe means the part of the universe other than the system. That is called the surroundings. And the imaginary or a real wall between the system and the surroundings, that's called the boundary. So the three terms, system, surroundings, and the boundary. Now let us classify the various systems. So systems can be classified into open system, then closed system, and third one is an isolated system, isolated system. The various types of systems, the open system, closed system, and isolated system. As I told you just before, you take a steel tumbler containing, say, hot water. Now, if it is kept open, what happens? Here we have the steel. This is a steel tumbler, and here there is a hot water, and it is kept open. Then you observe what happens here. What all changes take place here? What all things you can observe here? You know, there will be escape of a water vapor from hot water. Say water vapor will be escaping from hot water system. From the system, say water molecules will be escaping. Water vapor is escaping. That means there is exchange of matter between the system and the surroundings. The system and the surroundings. You consider this part. This part you consider. Say the part below this line I have drawn, that is the system. And above the line, that is the surroundings. So there is exchange of matter. Water vapor escapes. At the same time, air molecules, say for example, carbon dioxide or oxygen or various other gases can dissolve in water. So there is exchange of matter, exchange of matter between the system and the surroundings. That is the first observation we can see. Secondly, you keep it open for some time, and what will happen to the temperature of hot water taken? You can see that, you can experience that. The temperature is slowly lowered. Hot water is kept. If the atmosphere is cool, then what happens? the temperature that is getting lowered. That means there is exchange of energy between the system and the surroundings. So heat energy is transferred from the system hot water to the surroundings air. There is an exchange of heat energy. So there is exchange of energy also. So exchange of matter and energy, both energy between the system and the surroundings. System and the surroundings. Such a system is an open system. So an open system is one in which there is exchange of matter and energy between the system and the surroundings. So, for example, hot water, hot tea, hot milk, hot coffee taken in an open, say, tumbler, glass tumbler or steel glass, for example. Or you take a beaker containing dilute sulfuric acid and you add zinc granules into that. There is reaction between sulfuric acid and zinc with the formation of zinc sulfate and hydrogen gas. As you know, hydrogen gas escapes from the beaker. You can see there is exchange of matter. Hydrogen gas is escaping. So there is exchange of matter. Not only that, when zinc is added into dilute sulfuric acid, there is rise in temperature. You have experienced that in the 10th standard. Do you remember? We have done that experiment. We have done in the class. So there is a rise in temperature. So there is an exchange of energy also. So a system in which there is exchange of matter as well as energy between the system and the surroundings. That's called an open system. Okay. Now you take, say, the steel tumbler. There is hot water and you just close it. See, the steel tumbler is closed. That is closed well and it is kept for a long time. Then what happens? You can see that since the glass tumbler, the steel tumbler is closed, there is no chance for the exchange of matter between the system and the surroundings. It is closed. So water vapor cannot escape from the system hot water or any other gases like carbon dioxide, nitrogen dioxide, etc. cannot dissolve in water. It cannot dissolve in water. There is no exchange of matter. So no exchange of matter between the system and the surroundings. But we have taken a steel tumbler, or you can take, say, a copper vessel containing hot water and it is a closed well. Then what happens when it is kept for some time? What happens to the temperature of water taken? What happens? The temperature is, you tell?
Slowly cools down.
Yeah, it will be slowly cooling down. That means temperature is lowered. So there is exchange of energy. There is exchange of heat energy. So there is exchange of energy. Exchange of energy between system and the surroundings. Such a system is called a closed system. A closed system. So in a closed system, the container is closed. The container is closed. So matter cannot escape or matter cannot exchange with the surroundings. But if the container is a conductor of heat, it is a conductor of heat, there is exchange of energy between the system and the surroundings. And such a system is called a closed system. So in a closed system, there is no exchange of matter, but there is exchange of energy. Now we come to isolated system. In the isolated system, there is no exchange of matter and energy. And energy, there is no exchange of matter and energy between the system and the surroundings. For example, you take hot water in a closed thermos flask. It's a closed one, not open one. It's a closed one. Then what happens? There is no chance for the exchange of matter. Similarly, there is very little chance for exchange of energy also. So hot water taken in a thermos flask, closed thermos flask, in that there is no exchange of matter and exchange of energy also. Such a system is called an isolated system. So the container is closed, so there is no exchange of matter. The container is an insulator of heat, so there is no exchange of energy also. The wall is an insulator. Thermos flask. The wall is an insulator. So there is no exchange of matter as well as energy. And such a system is called an isolated system, separated system. No exchange of matter or energy. Okay. So these are the three types of systems. Now you come to, before going to the further studies, let us let us continue. So we have classified the systems into three types. Which are the three types of systems? Open system, then, come on, closed system, and isolated system. Open system means there is exchange of matter as well as energy between the system and the surroundings. Closed system, there is no exchange of matter, but there is exchange of energy between the system and the surroundings. This happens when the boundary wall is a thermal conductor. It's a conductor of heat. Then there is exchange of energy, especially heat energy. Okay. Then isolated system. There is no exchange of matter or and energy. Say here, say closed one. Secondly, the wall is a thermal insulator. For example, say hot water taken in a closed thermos flask. No escape of matter, no escape of heat energy also. Okay, so these are the three types of systems. Now, let us go to the two types of variables. We can call them as state variables or state functions. State variables or state functions. State variables or state functions. What are state variables or state functions? In the last chapter, we have studied some variables like temperature, pressure, concentration. See, you have studied all these things. Volume. These are the various variables. Amount of the substance, concentration, amount of the substance, number of moles, Avogadro's law. So we have studied these variables. And the variables which depends only on the initial and final states the variables which depend, the variables which depend only on, depend only on the initial and final states, only on the initial and final states, initial and final states, final states. Such variables are called state variables or state functions. Now, when a change occurs, the change occurs through various routes. There may be a chance for the occurrence of the change through various routes. But independent of the routes, there are certain variables which depend only on the initial and final states. Such variables are called state variables, initial state, final state. So such variables are state variables or state functions. For example, temperature, pressure, volume, say all these are the state variables. Then a new term is coming here. It is U. It is called internal energy. We are going to study that now. Internal energy, U. Internal energy. And one more term, H. That is called enthalpy. Enthalpy. You have heard about the enthalpy. In the last chapter we had studied, we had heard about enthalpy. So these variables, these terms, depend only on the initial and final state. Say, temperature of water, 100 degrees Celsius. Temperature of water, 150 degrees Celsius. Initial 100, final 150. Only that much. Then nothing concerned with the route by which 100 degrees changed to 150 degree. That is not a matter here. So, temperature depends on the initial and the final states. Pressure P1, P2, so they depend only on the initial and the final states. Similarly, volume, initial volume, 1 liter, final volume, 2 liter. That depends only on the initial and final states. Then we had added two more terms here. One is the internal energy, and second one is the enthalpy. There will be one more term. Two more terms will be there. One is called entropy, and Sharon, Steffi, Malavika, you are there? Okay. So the enthalpy, then we have entropy, we'll study it after later, and there is a Gibbs energy. So all these terms depend only on the initial and final states, and such variables are called the state variables or state functions. Okay, temperature, pressure, volume, internal energy U, then enthalpy H, there is Gibbs energy G, capital G, there is the another term what I told, entropy S. We will study all this. Okay. Now let us go to the first law of thermodynamics. First law of thermodynamics. First law of thermodynamics. You consider an isolated system. System. You know, what is the speciality of an isolated system? In the isolated system, Aryan, what is the speciality of an isolated system? Aryan, Ashwin, Binil, Nidhi, can you try? What is an isolated system? Aryan, can you say what is isolated system? No answer. Ashwin? Anthony? Anthony? Anthony is not there? I'm not reaching to Kadupasheri. Even without the headset, you can hear me. So much I am shouting here. Even when you are not able to hear. Okay. So what is an isolated system? Anybody knows?
No exchange of
No exchange of matter as well as energy.
energy.
Energy. So there is no exchange of energy. Isolated system. So there is, since there is no exchange of energy, the energy of an isolated system is a constant. It's a constant. Energy is not lost. It is not gaining energy also. So there is no change in the energy. So for an isolated system, the energy of the system is a constant. Energy is constant, and that is the first law of thermodynamics. The energy of an isolated system, for an isolated system, energy is a constant. It will not change. If energy is constant, we can say energy can neither be created nor be destroyed. Energy can neither be created nor be destroyed. You have heard this statement, and you have studied this as the law of conservation of energy. Law of conservation of energy. Law of conservation of energy. It is the same as the first law of thermodynamics. So first law of thermodynamics can be stated in two ways. One is, for an isolated system, energy is a constant. Energy of an isolated system is a constant. Or we can state the first law of thermodynamics in another way as the law of conservation of energy. That is, energy can neither be created nor be destroyed. That is another form of first law of thermodynamics. Here I have said, say, energy. Here also energy. We have used the energy. Let us think of the definition for energy. So what is energy? What are the different forms of energy? You take a carbon dioxide molecule. Say a carbon dioxide molecule moving from one point to the other. A moving carbon dioxide molecule. So carbon dioxide is the system. It is the system now. Say there is covalent bond between oxygen and carbon. Covalent bond is just like a spring. So you can show, say, carbon dioxide molecule, see, like this. It is acting as a spring. That means the covalent bond can, say, atoms can come closer or they can go away also, acting as a spring. Okay. Now you think of a moving carbon dioxide molecule. When carbon dioxide molecule is moving from one point to the other, due to the motion of the carbon dioxide molecule, the system carbon dioxide contains, say, a form of energy known as translational kinetic energy. That is due to the motion. It is a translational kinetic energy that is due to the movement of the molecules. Then, when the molecules are moving, say the covalent bonds, the atoms will be vibrating. I told you the atoms can come closer or they can go away also. There is a limit for coming closer. and there's a limit for going away also. That is an there is an optimum distance. There is an optimum distance for this. How? There is coming closer and going away. And that is called the vibration. Vibration of the atoms. Vibration of the atoms. And that is called the vibrational kinetic energy. Vibrational kinetic energy. Due to vibration, there will be vibrational kinetic energy. Then, during the motion of the molecules will be rotating. The atoms and the molecules will be rotating. And due to rotation, there will be a definite amount of energy, and it is called rotational kinetic energy, or simply rotational energy. Rotational energy. Now, you consider the attraction between the nucleus and the electrons. So there is a attractive force between nucleus and electron. You consider electrons only, there is a repulsion between the electrons, electronic energy. You consider the nucleus, due to the nucleus, that is also having a definite amount of energy, that is called the nuclear energy. So, if you take a system, a molecule, a reactant, or a product, whatever it is, there will be a definite amount of energy confined in the system. In the system, you take the system, in the system there will be a definite amount of various forms of energies confined. Maybe the translational energy due to the motion, maybe the vibration energy due to the vibration of the atoms about the covalent bond. Okay. Vibrational energy. The atoms will be rotating. Molecules also will be rotating. And due to the rotation, there is a definite amount of energy that's called a rotational energy. Electronic energy, nuclear energy, potential energy, depending on the position, the height. So, in a system, there will be different forms of energies confined. The sum of SUM, the sum of the total of the various forms of energies confined in a system, that is called internal energy or intrinsic energy. The various forms of energies confined in a system, and that is called the internal energy. So let us explain internal energy of a system. It is represented by U. The letter U is used. Internal energy or intrinsic energy. In the old books, you can see it as capital A. And the modern books, there is U. The notation is a U. Okay. So internal energy. What is meant by internal energy? The sum of SUM of the various forms of energies present in a system, confined in a system, that's called internal energy. Internal energy is a state function. That is a state function. Suppose U1 is the internal energy at the state 1. Then U2 is internal energy at the state 2. Say, for example, the reactant U1, product U2. See, system 1, state 1, reactant, state 2, product, for example, product. So, state 1, that is internal energy is equal to U1. State 2, internal energy is equal to U2. Now you take the difference in the internal energies. So it is shown by delta U. So delta U, the difference in the internal energies, that is equal to U2 minus U1. U2 minus U1. U2 and U1 are the internal energies at state 1 and state 2. That is the difference in the internal energies. Okay, delta U. Now you take same a cylinder and a piston arrangement. You take a gas inside this. So gas is the system now. Gas is the system. Now you heat this. You heat the gas. You heat. When the gas is heated, what are the major changes taking place? First, the gas will be absorbing a definite amount of energy, and you call it as Q. Q is the amount of energy absorbed by the system, the gas. Okay, then when temperature is increased, pressure is increased, and therefore the piston is pushed upwards. So there is a change in volume, and during that process, work is done. So there is a definite amount of work also done, and let the work is equal to W. And you can derive a relation like this: delta U is equal to Q plus W, and it is the mathematical formulation of first law of thermodynamics. Delta U is equal to Q plus W, where delta U is the change in internal energy. Q, that is the amount of energy absorbed by the system, and the quantity of energy absorbed by the system. And W is the amount of work done. Amount of work done by the system or on the system, whatever it is, the amount of work done. So delta U is equal to Q plus W, and that is the equation form of the first law of thermodynamics. We can continue the more details in the coming class. It is time.